Can I share my screen, Wolf?
Oh yeah, just a minute. Okay, Mike, go for it.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Still?
Yes, all perfect, Michael.
Excellent. So what we are seeing here is just a basic shape. It's a flat piece. And this is part of the bar module, and anyone can design their own flat plane. Now, some of you probably who know Blender know exactly where I'm going with this. Now, this is very powerful because it allows you to design your own shapes. For example, this one slopes at 2 degrees, and it's got a slight curve up top here to make it rounded, and so you can invent your own shape for this type of bar. And just to show you a little bit of a more complex structure. Okay, I've got one 2 degrees. Here's one with a clip. So we've got a round circle with a clip around it. Now, this hasn't been tested yet, but we are about to test, and we're very excited with this actual design. Now, how does this tie in with the bar module? And I'm going to get into this now. So you can imagine that you could have any shape with a layer over the top of it so that it can easily be made into a superstructure. So let us open an example. Okay, here, scallop. Is it this one here? No. So just bear with me. Yeah, I can use this file here. All right, so here what we see is a model, and we have these, they look like bottle shapes, and we're going to do a few more of these later on. This is part of the crown and bridge module, and it joins up the abutments underneath it, the implant abutments, to our structure. So if we're using this bar shape, which is, I call it pre-shaped, or hold on a second, pre-shaped designs. Now we can add a curve. So here I'll add a curve. Now this is the scallop design. Here, pre-shaped design. We're going to add a curve, and then we're going to, so you can, this curve is what I've shown you earlier on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this curve all the way. And if I look at it from the top, this is exactly parallel. So if you've had it 2 degrees or 6 degrees or a different design, you would be essentially looking at this from the top at the moment. So let us take this and extrude this further, like that. And I'll stop over here. So essentially, if I look at it from the side, this is a rectangle. So it's exactly 4 by 4. So if we wanted to say change this, for example, and we're not happy with the design, we can go to the curve type and we can choose, okay, we can choose a round one, or we can choose a rectangular one, or a shoulder, like a funky looking design, or the other one that I've spoken to, 2 degrees. So this slopes at exactly 2 degrees. Here's your design. It gets brought into the scene, and then it extrudes in the Z direction exactly according to, so that when you look at it at the top, it's exactly parallel, or it's exactly with the Z direction. Assuming now you want to change this design, and you think, okay, maybe you want to add something, we can easily just go edit selected bar design, and that'll bring out this little thing that you've pre-made. I mean, we've got quite a few that have been made, but you can design your own. So for example, now I will select this one. This is a curve, and if I stretch it up, we can then do whatever. We can shape this in whatever shape we'd like it to be, which is a very powerful tool to have. So, okay, say for example, I don't like this design. I want to change it again. We're going to go here and change it to the clip, the one that I showed you earlier. Again, here in the corner, we've got the clip. We can edit this if we want to. And this is a round bar with the clip going over that. And that's actually quite amazing. We're going to do a few experiments with this, because we all know you can buy the Preciline attachments, those yellow ones that clip over the top. But we've been damping with the idea of actually having that nylon printed. So we've got this nylon printed, and then we can have the other one joined to the bar. So I'll just save this file so we can get into this in a minute. Round. Okay, so for now, let's change this back into a square. Oh, okay, I had the wrong one selected here. Square, and we're going to continue making this into, we're going to join this up with the implant components. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to remesh this one. So we remesh it, and this is needed because we need more vertices for milling and so on. And we can then nominate how fine we want this mesh to be. So this isn't set to its finest, but I'm going to apply it at that. And then what we would typically do is we would then cut the gum, because this extrudes into the gum. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go to the model designer or wax up. They both work exactly the same here in the cutting tool. So this is my object being cut, and that's going to be my insert. And that insert will then get remeshed. There's a slight offset. You can have a slight offset. I mean, for the patient to floss underneath or something. You can set that according to, it's set at 100 microns. You can set it to whatever you want. And then we're going to apply that. And then the voxel size, we don't need that fine. I'll set it to 0.2 if we want, and then we're going to remesh it and cut it. Okay, so now we've got a 0.1 underneath there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to join this to our abutments. So let's hide the things just to explain what's going on here. We're going to go to the crown module, and over here where the implant crowns is, we're going to take that and we're going to propose a border. So let's click propose a border. That's essentially, this takes the bar and the blue tubes and it sort of unifies them into one. Now I've just got to quickly have a look and see whether there's any markers, I call them, that are not in the correct position. Here, for example, it's not quite correct. So let's just have a quick look. I think that should do it like that. Okay, and we're going to cut the mesh. Okay, the mesh is cut and it's completed. Excellent. So the actual holes for the bar we do later. If you wanted to put like OT cap attachments, you can do that as well, or zest locators or whatever. You can put that on now at this stage. As I said, the holes we're going to cut later. So now you guys may be wondering how we would make a superstructure over the top of that. And that's actually quite easy. I'm going to go into I'm going to start a new file, okay? File, because the reason why I'm saying it, we don't have to. The reason why I'm saying that is because we've got so many objects on the scene, and we can get, even I sometimes get a little bit confused. So let's open up a new file. Here, open new, general, and I'm going to import this into my scene. File, import, STL. I have exported them earlier, so here, these two. Okay, so there was a denture, there was a scan denture as well. Let us hide the denture for now. So here we've got what we had earlier, and these are joined. So what we're going to do is we need to create an offset model, because when you're gluing one on top of the other, you need some space for glue, cement. So let's do that. We're going to go to the block height module now, which is over, let me just have a look. And then here, block height module. This is the upper, and we're going to create an offset. Now this is going to be your cement spacer. I've set it to 200 micron. You may want less or more, I don't know. We're going to apply that, and then we're going to finish this. And then once it's finished, you can picture, if you had like press-align attachments, or no, not press-align, but OT cap or different clip-on attachments, you would be at this stage now. Okay, so we're going to survey it. In this case, we don't really have to survey it because this bar was made in the Z direction. So we don't have to tilt anything. So, and then we're going to create our passive model. Wolf, you're still there?
Yeah.
Excellent. We're going to finish that. Now what we're going to do is, in the crown module, we're going to cut out this section over here. So this becomes my working model. So this is where the crown module integrates with everything else. We're going to place our cursor, and we're going to start drawing a line. Okay, so extrude this all the way through.
So this is the same technique as when making crowns anyway. You'd be making the surface.
Wolfgang, this would be like a die.
Yes.
Yeah, you're correct. You're correct in saying that. And this line doesn't have to be along the bar. It can be along the tissue, because if you wanted to have it tissue fit as well, you would then draw this along the tissue and not only along the bar, if that makes any sense. Okay, so let's just move this along like that. Perfect. And then we're going to cut the upper surface. Okay, it's just thinking. Okay, so here we've got the upper surface, which will then, with an offset, fit over this bar. Now what I want to do is, I may want to decide to put like this would be a coping of 0.8 or whatever you want to have, like a metal housing over it. Now I'm just veering off the subject from joining the denture to it. So let's see how that actually works. So in the crown module, we're going to go back to our implant menu here, our implant menu. And we're going to do this exactly like we do with our implant abutments. So we take this is like an implant abutment with those of you that are familiar with this technique. And we're going to click on this one to make a tube, okay? And this is a good idea to actually start a new file because the other stuff won't interfere in this process. So here, what I want to do is I'll just tuck this one behind because it's just to demonstrate what's happening. And this tube is now 0.6 millimeter thick. You can have it thicker or whatever. I'll just leave it at it. Maybe 0.6 is a bit thin, I don't know. But let's leave it at that. And then we're going to accept this tube. So following that, I want to make something like a thin piece of metal that caps over the top of it. All right, so let's try and do that. So here we'll take this, and then what we're going to do is we're going to click on this one here where it says select tube to use as fixture. Okay, let's click on that one. Previously, we had to look for locator to find a locator, but that's sort of taken care of. So make sure you've got the updated modules. So what I want to do now is I want to propose a border. Okay, so let's do this and see if that works. Now, when we propose a border, especially for a denture, it's not always 100%. And that's where we draw our own border around it. And I'll demonstrate that in a few minutes. Okay, now in this case, we've got quite a nice border, except for you have to look and make sure the magnet tool is on. You have to make sure that none of them are cut in the, sort of cut through the mesh, because we know the cutting tools have to be above the surface. So here I've still got to do a bit of fine tuning in the coding to make sure that this is spot on. Okay, hopefully this will work. So we're going to cut through this mesh. Okay. Yep, that's worked nicely, and we're going to complete that. So we know it's been offset by 200 microns, and we've got a metal cap going over the top of our implant bar. Okay, let's just isolate that. Here we go. So that's our cap going over the top of it. And again, if you had attachments, that would go over the top of those attachments.
Or like retention beads of some sort.
Yeah.
Or pins
So,
that go into the teeth.
this is the wrong one. Let's go back to the other one here, cut surface. All right, so if we wanted to join that to the denture, okay, so here's the denture. I'm just going to tuck the yellow one behind because it's, so there's a few things that I still have to do to make it a little bit better. So here's that. I'm going to do exactly the same thing now with the denture. So we'll take this one in the crown module and we're going to do the same thing here with a tube. Here, make a tube. We're going to accept this tube. Okay, same technique as with the implants. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to look for our denture, which is here. So this was a scan denture. You can make your own nice denture with it, with beautiful denture teeth and so on. Okay, now this, because we select that and then we're going to click on propose border. Okay, you can see how the denture is actually lacking material, because you can imagine the bar runs through here and it'll cut a hole going through the denture. So this is the beauty of this blue tube, because it acts as our like a safety zone spacer. So let's click on propose border. Oopsie. Let's just go one step back. Just didn't do what it did. Okay, it would have given us an error code. I didn't look at the error code. And the error code would have read that the locator is in the wrong position. And you can see the locator is a very important thing because it locates the intersecting objects, all of the objects that need to intersect. And in this instance, the denture was left out of the of the selection because it's located there. So then the error code would have said just go back, Control Z, and then just put the locator in a different position. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in like this. Okay, let's see if that works now. So propose border. Okay, so now it's thinking, which is a good sign. Now I've told you that the proposed border may not look like a good border, and that's because it has to jump such a long way. These vertices, they have to go such a long way. I'll just show you. So if I hide other stuff just to demonstrate, you can see how this has to jump. So it hasn't given us a good guess of how it should be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Shift D and E to extrude. We've got this in the video, by the way, and then Control L and then X delete. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my own border this time around, just to make sure. And it can be a good idea to smooth out your denture if you wanted to, but let's just do that quickly. Yeah. Here you can see how that's actually unified where the bar runs through it to make sure that we've got adequate thickness for the bar. Okay, let's take this all the way. Maybe a bit lower there. Okay, let's join it up. I'll probably subdivide it one time just to make sure. Subdivide like this. All right, so let us, so we've proposed the border. We're going to cut the mesh. Let's see, hopefully it'll do the trick. Yep, it's done it. So you can see how it's bent over to that place, and we're going to click on complete. Yep, so that's really, really good. So let's just Control I and hide. So here is our,
Can you
there's
just
something
put a
going on.
matte cap on, Michael?
Yeah, there's something going on here. I've got to still check this. This is like quite, it's a long way to jump. But yeah, it has fused here. There's a bit of a mistake, but yeah, so this is, typically we could go a few steps back and then pull that border down a little bit. So here, I'll just go over here because it's a little bit high up. In transparent, we can actually see where that is. So here, let's pull this down a little bit to make it a little bit less of a jump. Oops, like that. Here as well. Huh. Okay. Well, I think you guys know where we're heading with this. There's this thing is one that has generated while we were doing this earlier. So let's just get rid of this, the magnet, and just bring this down a bit and see how that then does the trick. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. Okay, let's just cut the mesh again. And complete it. Yeah. So yeah, okay, let's complete this. Excellent. Yeah, that's looking way better, hey Wolfgang?
Yes, yes.
And then
So
of course
Would you smooth
This
it,
inner
Scallop?
one we can hide, and then we'll just smooth it with a
Just put a
scalp
matte
protect
cap on, Michael, if you don't mind.
here. Just smooth it down a little bit. Very, very cool. Okay, exit. Here we go. Nice. All right. Okay. So let's get into something completely different now. We're going to get into the hybrids here. Now, I've had quite a few of these sent to me, and I'm quite frankly, I'm sick of them. I've seen too many of them today. Anyway, okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a protection for the holes. That's very important. And this is, I've called this inside bar. And we've had a lot of queries and people wanting to know how this works. So let's see how this works. So what I want to do is I want to position my hole so that I can see directly down into it. I'll place my cursor and I'm going to make a cylinder to block it out. So S to scale, G to grab. And this is very important because we need to protect this hole. We need to protect all these holes because they've already been made. If we don't do that, that would forespell disaster. So S to scale, G. So I've changed the algorithm a little bit since we last had a video on this. Here, I'll do the same on this one. Here, shift right click to place my cursor, make a cylinder, S to scale, G to grab, placing it nicely like that. And the last one here as well, so like that. Place my cursor, scale it down a bit, G to grab, like that. Let's position them into the actual screw holes. Once I've done that, I'm going to just place them up like this, just to make sure that they're all protected. Like that. And last one like that. Okay, so now I know they're protected. And the next thing I want to do is I want to draw a line. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a model with this one. If I had a model, we can draw it along the gum line. But because I don't have a model, I'm just going to draw it randomly. So let's pretend that there is an invisible model with a gum line. So, and we want to have the bottom in metal, so the tissue fit is all in metal. And then we want to bring that up like almost 3/4 of the way up this hybrid. So let us do that, like quite high up. So that was requested to have it high up. Okay, I think that's high enough up. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to survey this. We're not surveying, we're not rotating the model. We're actually just looking at it, the scene. So I'm having a look from the top, and this is going to extrude perpendicular from the screen to my eyes. So straight 90 degrees. That's why I'm trying to get a good. This takes a bit of practice. If you're not familiar with it, you may get it wrong a few times, but that's okay. You just go Control Z back, and we're going to extrude tool to view. Okay, so this is going to bring that up towards me parallel. So this is like the walls are 90 degrees. Again, I could change that a bit. So I'll toggle the top a little bit and use the R key just to, rotate a little bit. But we can see how big this bar is. So we need to change this bar a little bit. And that's quite easy done. We have to make the top thinner. So these buttons are up and down, okay? And then we're going to angle the bar. So I'm going to press this a few times to make it thinner. And I'm looking at the bar over here, how much is actually still sticking out of it. So I'm going to angle this quite a bit actually, to minimize what is actually sticking out. And then what we need to do, well, I can bring that forward a little bit. So let's edit the top of it, and I'll just use the G key and just move that forward just a little bit, just to minimize the exposure of this bar. Okay, something like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have to remesh this bar, and for good reason, because we want to be able to select the vertices from the top, and we can then use the G key, and with the proportional editing tool, we can manipulate this bar and place it into a little bit of a different location, because the idea is twofold. We have to shape the bar according to the denture, and we also have to shape the denture according to the bar. So there's a two-way process going on here. Here, for example, we have to do this from the top as well. So there's quite a lot we can do. So G, Z, we can bring this down a bit. And to further this, we can actually create more retention if we want to. This is an idea I've been thinking about as well. We can select the top, and we can go GZ, and we can actually create little divots to make sure that, when we glue this bar into position, that we have more retention. In this case, the bar is quite big, but sometimes a bar, like the next example, is not that big, so retention would actually be quite a good idea. Okay, now with that having done, we need to reshape the denture. So the bar is more or less okay. We're going to then paint the thin areas of this bar. So here, all I'm doing is I'm marking these red like this. Okay, there's none over. Here's one like that. And here are a few like that. Okay. Now this is going to create a layer which then fuses with the actual hybrid. Okay, so I've painted the areas, and I'm going to now correct thickness of hybrid. Let's click on that. So this takes a bit of thinking, because it's about 1,000 lines it has to go through. So there you go. Wow. It actually did what it was meant to do. You can see it, like it put these little, it made it bigger, you see. It made the areas by I think it's 0.7 or something bigger. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat map just to see where there's any red spots. Here's slight red spot. We can inflate that if we want to. Okay, this is something I've got to change masking here. Inflate that a little bit like that. Exit. Okay, then the last bit is we want to cut it. So let's cut it. Separate hybrid. Again, the thickness, how much cement do you want? Is it 200 microns, 300 microns? I don't know. Apply cut. Okay. It didn't do what I needed it to do. So I don't know why. So it's still a little bit buggy maybe, but in general, it's worked quite well. I'll just take that and smooth it down. There's obviously somewhere along the line, there's a hiccup. let's just click on separate hybrid. Maybe I'll just make it a bit thicker, maybe, I don't know, apply cut. Ah, that's it, it worked, wow. Okay, so hide, here's my bar, like that, and we've got a nice separation between the two of these, like that. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
It's good, Mike.
Okay, so I was going to do another one exactly like that to demonstrate, but I think you guys get the idea. And the other one looks way more tricky. So you can imagine putting a bar inside here. Do you think this is even possible? And yes, it is possible, and I can prove it. But I don't know if we're running out of time or not. Wolfgang, what's
It's
the
still
time?
20 minutes. You're working too fast.
Maybe we should give this a go. Eh?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so here I'll just cruise through it.
So first thing, you want to protect their holes. So you put these cylinders into it.
It's extremely important.
So is it
Otherwise, they're going to
just the
block
inner
out.
walls of the hole? You're not so concerned about anything else?
Yeah, just the screw channel.
Hmm.
So here another one. Let's get that one done here, like that. Last one. It can be tricky to rotate. Sometimes what makes it easy is you go into edit mode, you grab a vertex like this, and then you rotate it because it rotates around the selected object, which helps a lot.
Oh, that's a good trick.
Yeah. Okay. Scale like that. All right. We'll just move these nicely into position like that. Wolfgang, I had this edit thing previously. Do you remember? Scale Z, fast edit to select the insides, but that just didn't seem to do the
Yeah.
job that well. Okay, so again, we're going to draw, extrude all the way along here. I'd love to see another CAD program being able to do something like this.
It is a tricky situation.
It is not an easy thing to do.
And of course, if this were made on its own, you'd probably need quite a resilient material because it is so thin. So including a bit of maybe titanium.
Imagine doing the lower piece in titanium, lightweight, biocompatible,
Maybe even anodized, you can do that.
in pink or something beautiful. Can you imagine that? Wow. Okay, so let us extrude this to our view. Yep, it is quite big, as we can imagine it would have been. We're going to look at it from the side. That's the extrusion is quite good. We're going to angle this quite a bit. Let's try and minimize as much as what we can, the exposure.
So you don't really have too many buttons on this particular menu bar inside
No,
bar.
no, you just have to sort of understand how it works. And also that it's a compromise between reshaping the bar and reshaping the denture. It definitely is a compromise. So here what we'll do is we're going to now remesh the bar. I'm going to be taking from the top view, I'll manipulate this mesh, and we're going to change the structure a little bit like this. Let's just pull this out this way, like that. Here as well, using the G key. something like that. Yeah, so we've got exposure over there. We've got some exposure over here as well. Here, what we can do is GZ. We can bring that all the way down. You can see there's a hole between those two. So, but we can fill that hole. So let's just keep it like that. So it's a bit of a funky looking shape bar. And as I've said to you before, we can make additional retention. So GZ, let's just bring up like a divot.
Into the tooth.
Yeah, like up like that into the tooth, you know, for additional. So this is like quite funky, I think.
As long as you don't introduce undercuts into it. So it's just a rounded blob on top.
Correct. Yeah, so you've got like little things like that. I don't know how relevant that is, whether that's even needed, but you can imagine for retention, you know, especially if you've got a very flat surface or something, and the bar itself doesn't go up all the way. So we can, it does have merit, I think. Wolfgang, what do you think? I don't know.
In the back of my mind, I'm just thinking now the thickness of the denture, because we've had so little space, which makes the heat map a very good tool to have in this menu. Can you show us when you're finished?
Yeah, okay, I've gone a little bit, I think I've exposed too much here. GZ. Let's just GZ. Take that back again like that. Okay, so this is one step. We're going to have to now paint the thin areas. So let's do that. Paint. And we can see where the thin areas are because they're sticking out. They're blue like that. And we're going to change them to red like that. Just going to
So
paint them.
essentially that's just adding that a layer over into that, onto the denture to thicken it in those areas. Well, can you set the thickness, or is that a preset?
It's preset. It's preset. I think I've got it to 0.7, I think, which is probably
quite okay.
good for milling, I think. So, of course, we may have users saying, oh, they want their own settings or something. I don't know. Okay, so here we go. Let's go back to the bar module, and we're going to create this material that goes over the top. So correct thickness of hybrid. Okay, let it go through its 1,000 lines and see what happens. Let's hope it works. So essentially it creates these blobs, and then the blobs get cut by those inner, yeah, it worked, by these, you know, these safety to you know, for the holes.
Yes.
And then it joins it up. So you can actually see here where the bar runs through it.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can see it.
Of course, that's very important. And here as well, you can see how the bar, and here as well, and here's a little bit there.
So those protection cylinders, are they used as a cutting tool as well then?
Yes, they actually cut away these little blobs.
Okay, I get you.
So the blobs, these cutting cylinders are used to protect the inside layer.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so let us look at the heat map. Okay, so that's looking very, very healthy to me.
What thickness have you got the heat map right now? Or can we set that?
Yeah, I think we need a button to set it. We don't have a button to set it.
I think so, because some people might think, oh, you know, this is too thin, then they can have the option to inflate in those areas.
I would 100% agree with you there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just And this thing I've got to get rid of, clear
S-
mask.
So smoothing is done with protection.
Smoothing is done with protection. Yeah,
What is a
like
protected
that's.
zone at the moment? Is it the entire the fitting surface underneath?
No, actually, at this stage, I don't think anything is protected. But
Mm.
I would have to get back to you with that one, Wolfgang. I think we have it. I
If
don't
you,
think it is protected at this stage, because we need it protected when we cutting. Once it's cut,
yeah,
once the two have separated themselves,
yes.
that's when we
Then,
have it protected.
okay, then you could essentially smooth in as well.
You can, and I'll demonstrate how that works. So let's exit. Okay, so separate the hybrid 0.2 spacer. I don't know.
So that's your cement spacer.
Correct. Correct. And we'll just wait for it to do its job. Hopefully it will. Yep, it has. Wow.
Cool.
Here we go. Here's our funky little bar. Perfect.
It's looking good. It's looking good.
And that's our structure. We've got a few bits and pieces hanging here. I don't know why. Okay, that's another thing I've got to look into. Doesn't matter. You can just Control I, X, and delete these. Other than that, awesome. Let us have a quick look in cross section what that actually looks like. Alt B. Here we go. So we've got one and the other, and the cement space which runs through the middle.
So here's a question. Are we able to, we could probably even introduce a screw thread into that, can't we? So if you don't want to, if you say, for example, you don't want to glue it on, okay, this guy goes, or lady or patient goes through these teeth like, grinds through them, every year or whatever. You don't want to take the whole
Ah,
structure out. So ideally, we want to have a screw thread in there that we can then use to screw this component down.
I suppose I haven't thought of that, Wolf. I mean, I suppose
Mm.
one
So
can do
you
that.
know how you made those, just think about that. So you know how you made those divots, or not, the retention, we could reverse that to make an actual screw thread. And then you can have the counterpart in the actual. I wonder if yeah, just a screw would work, I think.
So the next one is the scallop design. And this is quite interesting because we're going to add a curve, and it's a very different type of design. And I've seen a lot of exclusive labs do this. I think one of them is Panthera, or I don't know. They advertise a lot on the internet. They've got these bars that go like something like this. So I'll call this a scallop design. So we're going to go all the way like that. Very different, looks different. Yeah, let's just bridge over there like that. So it divots in and out. Here, let's just go like that, and we're going to go right across like that, and maybe across like that, like this. Okay, we're going to look at it from the top. Now, the extrusion is, again, according to view, because if you may have implants that jut out like, like buck's teeth or something. This is why the path of the view is so very important in this special design. Then what we're going to do is extrude to view, and that brings it up to our view like that. And you guys may have seen designs like this beforehand. And of course we can go up up or down, depending on how short or big you want this thing to be. And then also we can angle it. So if you want to see the angle, we're going to go into edit mode. So here, edit, I've got to change it that it's like on vertex select mode. So if we want to have a look at this angle, we click on angle and we click on view. So we can see this is 90 degrees. So just say we want to angle this at 2 degrees or something, we're going to click on angle bar. So here, so that's 1.72 degrees. Angle it again, so that's 3.3 degrees. So we've got a rough estimate. It's not exactly 100% because if you do measurements all the way along the line, there will be a deviation between the angles. So we can't get it exactly 100%, but it's quite close. It's within, you know, a few percentage marks. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do exactly the same thing. Then we're going to just remesh this object, remesh it, and then of course we'd cut the gum like I did earlier. We'd cut the gum and then we'd fuse that to our implant abutments, and then we're back at the same setup. Although this one is a little bit different because it makes it a little bit easier. This bar it has the vertices have been selected. So the good thing about this bar actually is that we can manipulate this mesh a little bit. So we can take the G key and I want to say take it over my implant abutments, say. And by doing that, we can make the entire process way easier. And I'll demonstrate this in a second. So like this. So all of the blue bottles are, I call them bottles, are sort of hidden within the inside. And that's for good reason, because we are able to extract the surface with the click of a button. So you can imagine we would then join them. And this is part of the custom abutments, which we're not going to discuss today. But then we can extrude the surface. You see, and now we are here already, and we can from here connect or make a coping or whatever on top of that. So we've shortcut the entire cycle with this type of design. Good. I think we've sort of covered it all. I just wanted to show you this with what we had in mind over here. So let's just remesh this, okay, and apply it. So my idea is to take this and then section it. So if we look at it from the bottom like that, and we're going to go into the model designer, vertex cutting, G, and we're going to select transparent. So here, we're going to section this Shift D, Shift D, and extrude it. We're going to mill something like this in the next week or so, and have the nylon printed as well to see whether this actually works.
One would then just keep these attachments on record, and if they wear out, you scoop them out and put some new ones in.
Yeah, now that would be absolutely fantastic. Slice that. We're going to accept this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to delete what we don't want. This one, that one we don't want, this one we don't, and this one we don't. So now we're left with these clips, which we can then also make a passive model out of that, so that we've got something to put them into. So that would be quite adventurous to see if that works or not. So and then that gets stuck onto the other one here. So this becomes proposed border. We're going to cut this mesh and complete it. There we go. There's our bar with our clipping device.
That only took you a few minutes.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Mm.
But of course, the last thing still, we need to cut the holes in this bar. So let's just do that. Okay, let's have a look at it. Yeah, that's it.
So you got the duplicate caps in there still. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it then looks like. Beautiful, isn't it, Wolf?
Yeah, looks like plumbing.
Absolutely magnificent. Get out of it.
You've been doing too much plumbing in your life.
Get out of it. Okay, stop share. Good. Have you
Excellent.
guys got any questions or?
There's a lot to take in, but you cruise through a few designs there. Well done, Michael.
It's an incredible module, I think.
So it's going to go for beta testing next. So we can still improve a few things. Excellent, guys. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, very, very nice. Thank you.
How are you, Baptist?
Very
good?
fine, very fine. You